This is Sleeman and Sal, episode 4, season 2. I've got Sleeman and special guest, the guest from last week who, good feedback. Jamie, welcome back to the podcast. How you going?
Thank you for having me, boys. Yeah, good to see you. It's all bright and bubbly.
For a Wednesday night. We don't have any entrance music. We've got some technical difficulties and I'll blame that on Sleeman. Sleeman, how you going?
It's not a good day. I'm freezing my ass off. It's really cold. I've got the beanie on. Let's just get it started.
It's a tough day.
Tough day for all. Yeah. So, first up on the slides is, if it does turn over, yep, grand final preview. So, with a question mark, I thought this was the match of the round last week. It was like it was a quite exciting game to watch. It looked like Parramatta may have had the wood on the Roosters in that second half, but Luke Keary came on strong with a former Showstoppers player, Boyd Cordner. Sal, you dropped him this week in fantasy.
Look, if he doesn't score a try, he only gets 40s. Like Jamie mentioned last week, his knees aren't that great. I was never going to start him. He was there for backup. I like Jaden Sewer. I think he'll get better at the end of the season when I need him most. So it was a bit of a risk, but I noticed that both my boys that I dropped, Drinkwater and Cordner, both scored tries. So that was great.
Yeah, and at least one of them has been taken off. Jamie, you must be happy with that performance.
Yeah, I said last week that I was really interested to see how the middles combated each other, but it pretty much went to script. Like even though Roosters looked half a step off, like they just did it comfortably. Like they didn't seem flustered. Everything powered through at them. How long can we keep this form though? That's my biggest question coming out of it.
Have you guys peaked too early?
That's what I'm afraid of. South Sydney did this a couple of years ago where they were just branding everyone after like round 3 or 4. They had like a 9-game winning streak or something, and then the wheels started falling off when the team started picking up the weaknesses, and by major semi they were done. So there's no point killing teams left, right, and centre, and then we get to October and we're not, November, whenever the grand final is. So it's a bit of a concern, but that's my only worry at the moment.
Do you think no Origin will help?
Oh, it's a massive thing. So traditionally we lose Cordner, Ferguson when he was there. It was really disruptive. So it's going to be interesting to see what teams don't dip like they normally would. So
Sal, what does Parramatta have to? What can Parramatta learn from this game? Like that can better prepare them for other games coming up, especially if they've got a pretty tough matchup this week.
Yeah, I think the maturity of the side is getting better. I think with Matheson on the side and who's the forward that they've got there? His name's not
Sean Lane.
No, the other forward, the actual forward.
Regan Campbell-Gill.
Yeah. So with them, if Nathan Brown stays on the field, my little worry was Mitchell Moses' defence. There was a couple of reads there that he got ran over. Once they mature as a side, they can keep up. I'm never convinced of Parramatta. I think at the end they just fall off the wagon. They always do. This year, maybe not. For it to call it a grand final preview, I like to see maturity sides in the grand final, sides that are mature. And the only two that I can think of right now, and I know Melbourne aren't doing great, but Melbourne and Roosters. Parramatta can get there. Melbourne aren't there yet, but I just feel they're more mature, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and Melbourne suffered a pretty bad loss as well as the Raiders. Jamie, the Sevo try where he basically bumped off Tedesco like a rag doll. It reminded me of Jonah Lomu in his prime when he used to bump like Michael Catt or whatever, the guy from
Mike Catt. It's funny. Like I'm in a league talk group and they're all Kiwis, and it was the first thing they brought up was the new Lomu Catt clip. Funny enough, I saw on Instagram ESPN requested to use the clip and Tedesco sent them a frowning emoji. So that might be said worldwide as well. So, but you can't get in front of that body. That body is just going to annihilate anything in front of it. And you could be the best fullback in the world, but you're getting folded. It's nothing you can do, man.
Can we have a special appreciation right now for John and Lum Rugby 99, the game?
Oh.
Just for a quick second.
Where's Eli? We can quote the whole commentary from here.
Me, Eli, George, we would play that. I think I've won the World Cup with almost every single side in that game. It's not funny.
Sleeman, give me one of your favourite quotes from the commentators.
Zinzambrook. I love the way that he would say it. It was so great. It was
great. That and Shane Warne 99 cricket, the two best games.
Oh, that's taking it back.
I know I would score 100 of Damien Fleming, but man, just those cover drives.
Oh, hey, cheat code Superman hit sixes all over the park.
Yeah, or the big beach ball. Yeah.
So I thought we're speaking of the Roosters and also the Eels. They've got matchups this week that I guess the Roosters one is a little lopsided. I think it's very lopsided. They're $1.10 against the Dragons, $7. Dragons have won 2 in the row as well, but
who was that 2 against though?
Yeah, against the Titans that are last and against the Sharks who
just didn't turn up.
Sleeman, Lomax and Saab, that worries me a lot. That defensive effort there is going to worry me.
I don't mind Saab. I think he's good under the high ball. Reading defenses, we haven't seen enough of him. We've only seen a handful of games of him, so I can't really comment on that. I thought
Lomax's defense?
Yeah.
He's had some shockers.
Yeah, well, defensively, the Dragons played pretty well against the Titans. It is the Titans. I thought they played pretty well, but the Roosters, even Jamie, I don't know. I'm not sure if you heard anything about Tedesco, if he's going to... I know they've named him, but...
I heard he was probably getting rested just because of the head knock protocol, but that could just be a smoke screen and he could be right to play. But at the same time, you don't want to be... Robertson's really good at man managing, so you'll see a couple of blokes take a spell against teams that we should comfortably account for. So whether this is one of those games, it'll be interesting to see.
Well, you got to figure Brett Morris is a great deputy to put in there.
Well, he was there for the 59 dropping, so it's not like he can't do the job at a high level. So
yeah, exactly.
For that, when Tedesco missed the other game because of the COVID scare,
the high temperature.
Yeah, if I was Tedesco, I'd say I don't want to miss another game. So that's probably
well, you don't want to miss too many and start getting a bit of ring rust. But at the same time, these guys have been playing together 3 years back to back. They know each other. Just in and out of the teams doesn't really matter. So I think it's more about burning out and just playing at a high level every week is going to be their biggest concern coming forward. So I don't see too many teams picking them apart, but I do see a need to rest some of these bigger names.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And the other matchup that we got is the Eels. I've classified this match of the round. There is another match that was a very close second, but Eels slight favourites against they're $1.66 favourites against the Raiders. The Raiders had a horrible loss last week. They were almost they may have been the team that did not impress me. So that disappointed me. I will double check that for you guys right now. And you know what? I've jumped the gun early. They are the team that disappointed me this week. And Sal, do you love that photo?
Oh, I do. I know exactly where that photo was taken.
Did you take that photo, Sal?
No, I was there standing watching.
These were taken professionally. Thank you very much.
Look, with Canberra, Sleeman, they had 42% possession of the ball last week. They had 76 completion, mainly a 58% position and 90% completion.
I think Canberra had the Raiders had the chances, Sal.
They did. They're absolutely right. I agree with you. They're missing something. What is that? What are they missing?
I don't think they're missing much. I just think they've just hit a little bit of a rut, and I think the Eels game is the perfect match for them to put their stamp back put their feet back onto the accelerator and show the competition that they're back in business. Jamie, just with last week's game, Jared Crocker's no try. Do you think it was a try?
I'm just gonna say yes because I actually didn't look at it.
You look like you did, and you're like, wait a minute, let me think.
You always told us.
I don't remember it.
I'm just on the Raiders. I kind of had a gut feeling at the start of the season when they revised the competition that it was going to affect them the most out of everyone because they got to bus up from Canberra or fly up from Canberra. Home games at Campbelltown.
Absolutely.
And then they got to bus 3-4 hours back to Canberra. Big bodies, hamstrings, recovery. These guys have probably got it the hardest out of everyone, I think. Like, even compared to the Warriors. The Warriors they're based in a spot and they're in and out and they're back to their base camp. But Raiders have got some long treks for home games, essentially. So I just think you see them playing the kind of football that, goes along with just a long fucking home and away season for this travel.
Well, it's not really it's all an away season because this is a point that I think I brought this up a number of times. The reason why I didn't put the Raiders to win the minor premierships, but I think they will win the actual the grand final is the fact that their home games are away games. They're traveling still to Campbelltown, which is a 2 or 3 hour bus ride there and back each way.
Yeah. But gents, what about round 10 onwards when that second piece of the draw comes out and let's say ANZ is back and the travelling is back up? Do you think Canberra will come out to the other end?
Oh, absolutely, Sal. But the question is, how much of a gap is if they lose this game against the Eels, that's a 4-point margin away from them. If the Roosters continue on winning, they'll be top 4 candidates. It's just whether will they get the number 1 spot for the minor premiers.
Oh yeah, I don't think so. I think Roosters have got it, to be honest with you. That's mine. I know it's very early, but
well, we'll move on with this. So, Sal, by popular demand, we are now bringing back this week. It's your top 5 players after 6 rounds, and this is we'll talk you offline. I got this list. There's gonna be a big disagreements from all of us. We'll quickly go through it, and then we'll talk about number 5, Dylan Brown. I would say, okay, fair enough, but there's another player from the Eels that did not make this list that I thought played better. Number 4, James Tedesco. How is number 4? I thought he was at least top 2 or maybe top 3.
Oh, look, this wasn't ranked 1 to 5, Sleeman.
Oh, Sal.
They get out
top 5. I'm not ranking them 1 to 5.
Well, you gave me. This is the 1 to 5 you gave me, and if you name me number 1 player first, and they're all from your fantasy team, 3 of the 5. Brett Morris is number 3. Brett Morris has been fantastic. He hasn't been the top 5 players of the whole NRL this season so far. Ryan Matheson, Sal, once again, fantastic player. There's 2 Eels. You've got 2 Eels players ahead of Mitchell Moses, and number 1, Victor Radley.
Ooh.
I'm telling you right now,
Victor.
I rate Mitchell Moses. I'm not a huge fan of him.
But
I don't like the way he plays.
It is not about rating and thinking.
I know.
Has he not been good in the first 6 rounds?
He has. I don't like the way he plays. It's just the way.
Yeah, but this isn't the Sal. I don't like the way they play. This is the top 5 players.
It's my opinion.
Playing in. Yeah, but you're saying you're choosing players because of your personal feelings towards them rather than how they're performing.
No, not feelings. It's my personal view, Sleeman.
No, how's that any different?
The way that Mitchell Moses plays, in my opinion, cannot last a whole season. It can't get them there. That's what my opinion is. There's a few times I don't like the way he plays. I like more structured halfbacks. That's just me.
So do you think Mitchell Moses will finish in the top 3 in the Daily M countdown?
Oh, look.
Will he be one of the 3 best players in the NRL this season?
Possibly.
So then why isn't he in your top 5 list?
I'm saying possibly. I'm not saying yes.
Jamie, help him out. I thought Jack Wyden could have made that list.
Yeah, Jack Wyden was pretty strong.
I like Jack Wyden.
Why did he make a list, Sal?
Sleeman, you gave me I had 1 minute to think about it. I put that list together, let's be honest.
It should be on your mind all week, Sal.
Yes.
I had 1 minute to put that together.
In Sal's defense, I think I heard Moses has a bit of a foot injury. So he's kind of taking a back seat and let Dylan Brown run the show a little bit. And they're just trying to put some finishing touches on the sets. But
Jamie, I want to ask you a question. If you put Mitchell Moses in the Roosters right now, will it work?
I don't think so because
Why?
His defense for me. I'm big on accountability, and some of these guys, they want that big play, but I'm pretty sure when Cordner ran in for the try just after the Sevo try, it was that Reid Mahoney, Mitchell Moses corridor that Kiri went down. And every team knows that you're going to get joy at least 1 or 2 times a game, and that was a crucial passage of play, and it turned the game. Like Parrow in front, they did all the hard work, and then that one lapse of a set turned the game, and Roosters never looked back. And that's exactly what it'll cost you. And that's what I'm worried about in Origin.
I was about to say that. Talk about big plays. If you put Mitchell Moses in Origin, would you rather Mitchell Moses or Nathan Cleary?
Nathan Cleary, because one, he's a bit more consistent, but at least he plays to the strength, and he plays to the strength of the outside players. Not saying that Moses doesn't, but Moses reminds me a lot of Pearce. Like, he plays what's in front. It's what the defense offers as well. Like, you don't get those chances in Origin. You can't just flip in and out of the game where Mitchell does, and that's why Tigers were, reluctant to keep him at the same time because he couldn't tackle, man. I think there was one game he missed like 8 or 9 tackles, and that's critical. You can't afford that when it's a corridor that you got. Traditionally, you had Latrell down that side. That would have been a hat-trick first down that left-hand side. So he's tidied it up a bit, but I think for me, he's at least a year or 2 away from anything serious. Like, these guys have been playing consistent footy for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, his style of play, I'm not comfortable with it.
Well,
I don't know what. I'm just not
rely on consistently. Like I said, Roosters offered him nothing. Did he do anything in that game spectacular? Nothing. Dylan Brown was doing more because there was that left-hand side that's got Sevo and who's that other centre down there? Jennings had an absolute blinder of a game. Turned back the clock and absolutely bathed Manu. That side's been way more effective than Mitchell Moses' side. So, that's been masking a lot of Parra's victories lately. Like, it's all Dylan Brown, to be honest.
He's in my list, Jamie, so...
Well, top 5, he deserves it, Sal. Like, I see where the logic was in that lottery pick.
Ponga or Pearce? I thought Pearce has been pretty great for the Knights, and Ponga, when he has played, I thought he's been pretty well. Even in a losing side against Melbourne, they both played well. No one considering these guys in maybe top 5?
Oh, look, they'll be in my top 10. I like Ponga a lot. I like Pearce as a player in general.
It's not a player as a general. How they're performing this year. The Knights are 3-1-1. 4-1.
Are you telling me Victor Radley has not changed as a footballer, improved, from last year?
Oh, slightly. It's not about improving. It's about how they're performing this year.
You got to take Radley's context of last season. Jake Friend went down. He pretty much sacrificed an Origin jumper by playing number 9 until Verrills got up to speed. So he pretty much sacrificed his preferred position because of the team needed him to be a different player last year. He's always been ball playing and pushing that front first receiver role. So now when it's actually going to be value adding to a team in this current climate, he's just flourishing. When he was already like that when he broke through. So he's just been giving his role back this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen it and it's more obvious this year and I'm liking it. Hence why he's not my top 1, but he's in the top 5.
Well, speaking of the Knights players that I just gave a shout out to, I think we'll go to the next match, which is the Cowboys and the Knights. And the line that I put in here, where have all the Cowboys gone? They're walking wounded. Knights $1 the way that they performed in the second half against the Tigers was a lot better. I think they started to get some continuity, but geez, it's a tough match to try to reverse it against the Knights. Do we give the Cowboys any hope?
Slim, I was so impressed with the Saifidi brothers that I think this is now, it's a Saifidi push with the Clemmer push. Saifidi ran 217 meters.
Was that Jacob or Daniel?
I think that was Daniel. Yeah, it was Daniel. Jacob ran 133. He played less minutes.
Yeah.
No, they actually played the same minutes, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But just them two together with Clemmer there, it just really added this cohesion with the Knights, and I'm liking it a lot. I really, really like the way they played together.
They played very well, and
Essay as well. When he came off, he was playing lock. He was also causing some mystery in the middle there too. I like it.
And I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but Kurt Mann actually played well.
Yeah.
I thought that he's a player that we've never found his real position. I thought it was a bit overhyped, especially when he went from Melbourne to the Dragons and then to the Knights. But this year, I thought his combination with Pearce has been well at 5'8", and they may have him there long term. I know they've got high raps on Tex Hoy, but Man in the first 6 rounds has played well. So we're basically ruling out the Pen and the Cowboys. We don't think there are any chance this week. Still no Valentine Holmes, no Jordan McLean.
I know.
Morgan's out another 8 weeks now. They're cleaning out his shoulder or whatever. They did a clean out or something.
That's massive.
So,
yeah, I said that last week when they had that matchup. I was like, they're running on fumes, man. Val Holmes was barely keeping them afloat. Tamalolo is obviously carrying that niggle on the bone bruising. I think he had 10 runs for 90 meters at one point, and it just wasn't the Cowboys' punch. And at this point, Paul Green's job's on the line too. Like, they're under so much pressure up there. Like, they're losing tricks.
Do you think they're missing Michael Morgan?
They're missing what you'll find now in this current scenarios with the change of play is you need more than one trick ponies. Like, you can't just rely on Tamalolo to get you a bulk meter game. You need someone on the edges. So Val Holmes gone, Michael Morgan gone. You've pretty much just nullified the whole pack. Like, I think Granville's been dropped, so they're trying to inject a bit of pace into the lineup. But at the same time, Drinkwater's being pretty effective. But at the same time, it only took 2 rounds to figure out his tricks. Like, he's going to show the dummy on the inside and then hit the outside centre or the winger. So he was getting a lot of success out of those plays. But even those aren't doing the trick now. So.
I'm not sure how he performs as well in defense as a 5'8". I think putting him at fullback hides him a little bit.
And Easton Masters is probably is it his first season there at the Cowboys?
Yeah.
He's probably the worst buy of the year easily at this point. Like, he was killing it at the Tigers, and he's just floundering. He's not even.
You were thrashing him.
Oh, it's for a kid that for the last 2 previous years was on a massive up value-wise. He's just been atrocious. Like, defense is not there. Attack is, not offering much. So he belly ached for the chance to go up there on decent money, and he's not delivering. So, you can't really blame it when you've got less stars in the team and you're still not demanding the ball and offering quality. It's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about the teams that impressed me. And there was a few teams I think are hard done by is the Panthers from me, as well as I guess the Knights. But the team that impressed me the most this round was South Sydney Rabbitohs. And where is Pisani to do the Goanna? Latrell Mitchell played well. I thought Cody Walker and Reynolds, like Cody Walker was sensational. Reynolds looked like he was a bit faster. Like, he looked like because I know he's carrying all the back problems and the leg, hammy, knee problems, but he actually looked quick in the game. And now
where's the Ferrari in the garage quotes? Like, we were really missing Paul on this one. Like, he called it too. He put his money on Latrell having a bang out game, and man, he's slowly building up to where we all expect him to be now.
It's just that match fitness. I think Sal mentioned it a couple of times.
100% match fitness. I think we look at the stats at the start of the year. He was easily the heaviest fullback running around. I think Tommy was slightly heavier, but Tommy's all frame. It's just not tall, carrying weight. So when you're asked to do 20, 30 touches compared to what he was doing in the centres and he added the weight, he was always going to take him time. But Cody Walker's a massive, like I said, you need points of difference and guys that take away pressure from you. So Cody, he's done it to me too now. Cody Walker coming back really allows him to start rolling in and out of games at his own pace. Like, it's no coincidence that his comeback has coincided with the Latrell spike in form. So,
does South have a selection headache? Does Wayne Bennett have a selection headache where I think 1 through to 5, they've got. So Mitchell's always going to be the fullback. You got Gagai and Alex Johnson as the wingers. You got Campbell Graham and Braden Burns as the centers, and I think they've all been playing very well. But then you also got James Roberts coming back. Who do you like? At the moment, they got James Roberts on the bench, but out of those 6 players, who's the player that's going to miss out?
I remember last year. Was it last year that Alex Johnson was on the bench?
Yeah, it was. And he started the
I don't
season on
think
the
it
bench.
matters. I think, like you said, they played well, and if James Roberts has to start from the bench, then so be it, because he was out. He'll always put that one player on the bench. I want to ask both of you: are you a fan of a back sitting on the bench? When 4 or 5 years ago we knew that 4 forwards on the bench was the go-to. Now you've got this back.
I do like it as an insurance policy. You just don't. I don't like playing people out of position. So a back row into the centers, or
how often do you need to use that insurance policy? I know it pops up quite often, but
well, look at the Knights. They lost Connor Watson, Mitchell Pearce straight away. That's your back line and forward pack that you need to play.
Which other team was it? Manly that lost 3.
Manly over the weekend. They lost Dylan Walker, Tom Trebojevic, as well as Brad Parker.
Yeah.
It's just I think, and luckily for them, they had Lachlan Croker who can play hooker as well as 5'8". That was on the bench. So
remember the days you had the utility on the bench and not the back.
Well, that's the thing. Like maybe you can insert James Roberts, 50, 60 minutes in like a back row role, like similar to like what Michael Morgan does in State of Origin for Queensland, and just have him just run against hard forwards, like a pacey guy like James Roberts running against the slower, the forwards that have got heavier legs for having more miles on them. It could be a smart play. Remember, just before Ben Barber hit the scene, he was coming on in the last 10 or 15 minutes as his nickname, the X Factor, by Michael Ennis. And he was just carving up as just that last 10 minutes, the speed, the explosion.
Quick feet, yeah.
So, and
you don't see that often these days, do you?
No. And I think it brings back that the purpose of having a utility position, the mix of Mr. Fix-It. Like I think one of the best ones for the Roosters was Chris Flannery. He could play in any position. Yeah,
well, Orbison now too. Second row centre. I think he was pushed out on the wing.
Craig Wing.
Craig Wing was exceptional. There was a trend about 4 or 5 years ago where most clubs would carry a number 9, like a really quick number 9, for this very reason, just to keep and capitalise and keep that pace up in the middle. But they kind of, especially at the Roosters, where they kind of just didn't get played. Like you'd run with 3 players on the bench, and you'd have a 4th guy not even getting game time. And
I remember Hasler Canterbury. Hasler Canterbury always had that one player that he never used.
And it's mind-boggling because you see some of the forwards struggling, but at the same time they're supposed to be professionals and all that kind of chatter. But you're seeing a real need for a specialist utility now, like Jamie Buhrer, that can cover 3 positions at a drop of a hat.
Same thing happened with Penrith and Storm that recently happened. Matt Burton didn't come off the bench just because it was just such a tight contest that they weren't in a position to put him in. They didn't want to. The Penrith didn't want to. Like Coruscant was on fire, so was Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary. Like you just can't substitute. Like it was an arm wrestle of a match. They wanted that field goal in the last 6 minutes or whatever. So, So speaking of the Bunnies, we're touching based on them now. They've got the Panthers. I think these are some of the form sides in the last couple of weeks. The Rabbitohs started off slow. They've hit the form. Since Nathan Cleary's come back from suspension, he's played well. A massive win against Storm. Panthers are just a slight favourite. This, for me, is a toss of the coin match. I actually don't know who's going to win. I
think it's too close to call. It's a close one.
I think Souths have warmed me up, to be honest. Like opposed to the Roosters where they're just firing straight away. You want a slow build-up, getting your combinations rolling in. You don't want to be perfect at this time of year. And I think Souths have probably got the biggest upside of any team running around the moment. I think Penrith are a lot further in front of them at the moment. That middle is going to be crucial. Tamo, Fisher-Harris, Kikau, I think they're tinkering with his gameplay a little bit as well. Like
I liked how they brought him on. It's what we discussed last week, having him have a spell in the middle of the game, come back in the last 20 strong, and and I think
He scored that try.
The commentator said that he wouldn't have scored that if he was still in the field.
100%. He wouldn't have nothing in the tank to chase that ball. And, it was a game changer.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a cracker match. That again is, like I said, I'm just going with Penrith just purely because I think 1 through to 17 on paper they have a better lineup. But geez, South are...
It could be anything. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Well, the players that impressed me, and I'm going to be a bit biased, and I thought he was unbelievable, granted against the Canterbury team. I've gone with Woodsy. Jamie, I better show your face.
You are slamming me for my list. Are you kidding me?
Woodsy was just offloading. He was taking the ball up, gaining so much yardage. He was hustling all over the field, tackling last week. I thought he was a leader. I thought he led them up front very well. Like normally when you think of
in fairness, he ran the most meters, 194, for 49 minutes. That's quite impressive.
Normally when you think of Cronulla and the forward leader, you'd think like back in the day was Paul Gallen and Andrew Fafita, but Woodsy's the leader for that team in the forward pack. He's getting the
I think he has to be now. Like I watched Fafita closely in that game just because the pure speculation about his knee at this point. Like it's got a lot of strapping. Like, I think Nigel Plum probably had about a kilo of strapping. Like that knee was heavily bandaged. But I watched him get up one play, and it was just an instinctive grab at the leg, and that for me tells me he's not ready. So you've got one of your biggest players not up to scratch.
He's had the same injury for a number of seasons.
It can only stay that way until it becomes a real issue, man. Like last year, he started having a dip. This year, he's been absolute shadow. And Woodsy needs to step up, but there's no one else there.
Well, I think they got good. Like Brendan Ueli I like him a lot. I think Jack Williams is playing well. Rudolph looks solid as well. Yeah. So, Woodsy won my player of the round this week, and that leads into the next thing, which is the matchup against Manly. The walking wounded, like Cronulla have had their fair share of injuries this season and suspensions. Manly have lost the Tom Trbojevic. They've lost Moses Sully. They've lost Brad Parker. I don't think he's playing this round. I'm not sure if he's past the concussion. Dylan Walker's out for a number of weeks. I think Brad Parker might be playing, but now they do get some relief. They're bringing George Tafua back, Martin Tapau coming back. Manly are favourites, but I think I smell an upset. I think Cronulla can get them.
Didn't this happen to Manly last year where they lost 3 or 4? I remember.
Yeah,
Tommy
was out for a while last year as well, and Elliott pulled in. They snagged.
And Walker was in the courts, I think, was he?
Yeah, they snagged 2 or 3 wins on that trot. And I think they won 8 out of 8 when Tommy came back and had a real surge. But unfortunately, it's not uncommon for them to be without the big turbo at the back. Walker's probably a different case. They get to power back. That's a bit more grunt. Fanil Blake was an absolute beast last week. Like that guy is just improving every week, and it's just really joy to watch a front row just dominating other teams.
Let me read you out the Manly back 5 and tell me who is the game breaker from these guys. You got Brendan Elliott, George Tafua, Brad Parker, Tavita Funa, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, and Ruben Garrick. I don't see a game breaker there.
No, it's real Mr. Fix-It, to be honest. I've had Garrick in my fantasy, and he hasn't been putting up numbers that he was last year. So I don't know what that means in terms of style of play or what's going on. But without Turbo, there's no punch.
Or even Sully, the guy that you can just pass it on to. Like he 2-on-1, 2-on-2. He's like that the Joey Leilua where he can maybe sneak in and offload. Like he's like a chance.
Well, in the 20 meter zone, he comes into play. Whereas you look at quality centers, they're punching you out from like 15 meters. They're real dangers all over the park, not just in the red ball zone. So,
in saying that, the Cronulla Sharks back 5 isn't much better. You got Matt Moylan, who hopefully is healthy, but he's hot and cold. Sione Katoa, he played well. Josh Dugan, if you need someone in the back line and you pass the ball out to him, he's a good option. Jesse Ramian, not a bad option. And
Jesse Ramian has been so hot and cold. Like, he brained them against, who was the other team? I can't remember. Then the week after, he was a shadow. And then last week, he was probably a mix of both of them. So it's real hot and cold.
And they got Bryson Goodwin on the wing. Did you see the try that he scored against the Dogs? He's 34 years old, granted, but he was like, there's no pace. That's a 34-year-old winger with no pace.
Gone. That's the first thing that goes. That's why they end up in the front row by 34, man. Like,
but
the pace is gone.
Like, surely there's a winger in the reserve grades. I like Goodwin as a center and as a cover for a center because you don't need to rely too much on the pace. But a winger,
they picked up Nanny McDonald in the same period as Goodwin, but I think because Goodwin was in a system for the whole off season. And Nene was just on his own. I think he's got the jump on him fitness-wise. So you might see a change in the next couple of weeks when Nene's up to speed. But
I don't get the obsession with Goodwin.
I've never. He had a good period.
He had a good stint with the Bulldogs and Rabbitohs. Just before he left the Rabbitohs and the Bulldogs.
How many years ago?
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's been in England for a number of seasons. Like I said, he's a 34-year-old winger. Like, his pace reminded me of like Daryl Halligan.
Not the slur on the greatest goal kicker of all time.
Greatest goal, yeah, absolutely greatest goal kicker of all time.
The greatest finisher too. He could finish it well, man.
He wasn't the greatest finisher, Sal.
What do you mean? The corners, he could corner.
You know what? Goodwin reminded me of an El Masri at the end of his, like, he had lost that pace, and he was there purely because he was the heart and soul of the Bulldogs, but no one had the balls to say, El Masri, as a winger, you have lost your pace, you've lost your...
Sleeman. I say this every podcast. It's the passion, the culture, and the DNA.
Oh, gosh, I'm not going
can you get that tattooed on your chest, please? I just want to see a shirt, something. Give me something, a hoodie. If you have a deep look at that pickup,
Jamie, sorry, Jamie. I want to put cheerleader on my chest.
At the cheerleader. That's got to be it. If you look at the acquisition of Goodwin, they lost Morris. Mulatalo's had surgery. So I think strategically he just needed someone to shore up that back line that he's not going to get, set the world on fire, but he needs experience out there to help him.
And that's what I agree with the move and everything, but I think, if anything, push Josh Dugan to the wing, put Goodwin in the centre.
There's got to be more than 100 rugby league players in this country. Like, seriously, Goodwin's your top option. Like, come on. Like, it's just, I know I was praising that just then, but it doesn't make sense. Like you said, you give it a 19-year-old a crack, it's going to be the same payoff at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. The player that disappointed me, and it's not the first time on this list, Anthony Milford. And Jamie, I know he's in your fantasy team. And
how was he in my fantasy team? Year after year, week after week. Keeper. He's been my keeper. I've had so much faith in him. I always listen to he's had a massive preseason. He's done this. We haven't seen him that fit. And dead set, you could not get more of a dead soul in a football field than Anthony Milford. Like,
have you been in Brisbane too long, Jamie?
That's the thing. I get a lot of different info from you guys. Like, this is a proud rugby league city, and you've got reporters that are very invested in this club. They always try and give information, and you think, okay, well, maybe they're onto it this year, but it's just bullshit. This guy just doesn't have a care in the world. If he did, he wouldn't be putting performances like this back to back, week in, year in year. It's just not good enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, they had a bit of a hard run with games, and now they're starting to get the easier ones. This might be the game that actually plays him into form. This is the loser leaves town. I've got another one. I had last week the Bulldogs and the Sharks as the loser leaves town. Bulldogs aren't making the 8. This is official. Whoever loses from this is not making the 8. I'm telling you that from now. And I think rightfully so, the Broncos are favourites. They've dropped Visako. They've put Dearden onto the bench. The new fullback.
Will Dearden start?
No.
I'm not too sure what the issue is. You either put him in and let him run the team, or you don't have him there at all. So, is it a smoke screen to tap Milford on the shoulder saying, "Look, this kid's here. you need to take this seriously. You know, you just don't know. Seabold's a bit of a tricky character. Like he thinks 3 steps ahead. When some of these guys just need to be hit over the back of their head with a sledgehammer, like it needs to be super obvious what's happening over there.
Jamie, quick question: Would Milford at fullback help him?
Not really, because it's a similar role. Like you still need to be asking questions when you got the ball in the danger zone. Like he had ample opportunities the last couple of weeks to stamp his authority on that back line, and it's just catch and pass. It's not. He's not asking any questions. Fullback, you need to be. It goes back to what I was saying before. You need points of difference in your back line and your attacking weapons. He's just been shifted into another jersey. It's just
then what's the difference between how good he was in Canberra and now what he's doing in Brisbane?
I'm a big believer in these guys getting comfortable in life. There's a hunger for them to succeed when they're younger. Like Tony Williams, for example. You just had this massive drive to deliver and get that big paycheck. And once these guys have got it, man, it's what else is going to motivate them? They were this close to a premiership. They didn't get it. That was probably the last time he actually had fire in the belly. You see a real reluctance for him to put his body on the line. And that, for me, is a professional that's not invested anymore.
Jamie, tell me about Tessie New. Sorry if I didn't pronounce his name right.
Apparently this kid's had massive raps on him, and Eli's a big fan of him. Eli's across all of them on their forums and whatnot. But listening to Denton Kemp, they reckon this guy's probably one of the best running around. I think Sam Walker was in the same echelon of like elite kids coming through. So this guy's got a lot of big raps on him. But against the Roosters, I saw him take 5 or 6 touches off the bench, and he had no fear. And that's what you want from these young kids. That okay, we might not be performing well, but at least I'm going to give this a crack. You know,
lollipop. Why not, Jamie?
A lollipop, yeah. But
we're calling this segment Jamie's lollipop. Milford.
He looks like a goer. He's just someone that is going to explore things, and that's what you want. If you got guys that aren't even trying, you're going to give these young kids a crack, and sooner or later, these guys aren't going to get their spots back.
Yeah, well, I think the Broncos are going to be easy winners against the Titans. I think the Titans are done. They've given the effort, but I think the Broncos have got to hit their straps eventually. These are the other key games that we got for the round. We'll fly through these. Melbourne Storm against the Warriors. Storm don't really lose 2 in a row. I don't see it happening. Warriors sacking their coach. Your thoughts, guys?
I think they were very upset about it. They said it was like a death in the family, and I think the performance this week will show it. Jamie,
was it the right decision though?
Well, it depends on what you're listening to. Are you listening to the chat about it was Moses' suspension that was the catalyst for it, or the team wasn't performing? I'm getting a different vibe. Normally when someone gets sacked, you're almost odds on to see that team win the next week because they got a point to prove. But the way these guys have, related with the press this week, it like Sal said, it's very somber. Like it's not an upbeat, okay, we need something.
And they're not home, Jamie. They're not home with their families.
Well, that was the biggest thing for them. Like listening to Tory Harris and a couple of these players, ex-players have come out really strongly and said, look, these guys have sacrificed. They've been away for 9-10 weeks at this point. You've just gone and sacked their leader because they aren't putting results on the board. And at some point, whether you're professional or not, it's going to have an effect on your mentality of what you're actually doing. Well, what am I playing the game for? Am I playing it for my family and just for that paycheck like we spoke about? Or have I got a sense of pride in my performances that...
Who are they going to go after? I'm sure
that's the odd thing, man.
There was someone in line to get. That's why they sacked him now. Surely.
Well, there was rumors that Todd Payton was looking to sign up somewhere else, and they didn't want to lose him as a coach. I don't know how good an assistant coach he has been. I don't know if he'll be a good head coach.
In the lower grades, was he successful there? Like, I think he coached at the Tigers, didn't he? And he snagged a premiership or something. I'm not
sure.
I
think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You don't sack these guys without having an absolute reason. And yeah, they got tailed by South, but they're staying in Terrigal. They're away from everyone. Like, you look at their Instagrams and all that. These guys are in the communities. They're trying to, show a bit of heart away from the field. And then when you sack their coach, it's just like, what are we doing here? What are we even trying for when they don't even, So it's a tough one. But you look at the merry-go-round at the moment. You got Bennett's up in the cloud, Bellamy. They're linked to all these different clubs, so there's a real. You could have a real shot in the dark here. Who's up for grabs? To be honest, someone could be behind the scenes, and next we find out in a month that Bellamy had a handshake deal, or Nathan Brown was a consultant at the start of the year. Is he being looked at to rebuild the club? You just don't know. But Todd Payton, I don't view him as the man going forward.
They've got someone, surely.
These guys have been touted as actual astute businessmen, and they're not playing the emotion cards with these decisions. So if they've got something in the works, it's going to be interesting to see where the cards fall. But like I said, Todd Payton isn't taking you to a premiership. He's not rebuilding you a club. He's not attracting marquee players. He's not attracting Australian players. Like it's a bit of a head scratcher.
Well, I think Melbourne's going to bounce back. I don't see the Warriors winning.
Is that the biggest odds for a while? That's a $5-6 gap there. Like I don't know.
Maybe the Dragons game.
The Roosters against Bulldogs was a bit like that, I think.
Okay.
Well, gamble responsibly, and we've got the Tigers still in 9th place, that magic 9 number against the Bulldogs. Guys, I'm coming out with a hunch to say I think the Bulldogs are going to win. I think the Bulldogs pack is on paper better. I know Reynolds and Mumbai were desperate to have a point to prove, but I think the Bulldogs the last couple of weeks have shown a lot of, like they normally do, they've shown a lot of heart.
Yeah.
They don't have anything in attack, don't get me wrong. We scored a try off a random kick from Adam Elliott and an intercept, but I think the Bulldogs can upset the Tigers. I wasn't impressed with the Tigers' second half. The first half, brilliant. Second half, not really great. Sal, you're edging to say something.
There's a bit more spark in the Dogs now that Lewis is out.
Don't say that. What did
Wakeham
Wakeham do this?
not all that, but there were a couple of plays which I liked from him. He did something nice. He was good. And these random bombs are now out. It's unfortunate that Kieran Foran can't take the majority of the kicks and the responsibilities. And Jamie, we spoke about this the week.
But even in Kieran Foran's career, he's never been known as a kicker.
I would say you would probably want to prefer Kieran Foran over anybody in that side right now to kick, but he probably can't.
At his peak, he's like Sleeman was saying, he still wasn't kicking, but at least he offered that option, grubbing behind the winger, that kind of deal. Very Wade Graham-esque, like very astute. Which option do I pick? But the fact that he can't do that anymore, like I said, you don't have points of difference you can rely on. So someone else needs to step up if Kieran Foran can't do that. And Lewis's random kicks were just absolutely not first-grade standard whatsoever.
So
Wakeham eliminates a little bit of that. So
yeah, at least it gives you something different.
Do you guys think do you think the Bulldogs are a chance against the favoured Tigers?
Yes.
This one, I'm getting a vibe of a bit of a grinding match, and if that's the case, Dogs are in it up to their neck. But a couple of effort plays by Josh Reynolds or a sneaky Harry Grant snipe, might change the game on its head. But if it's an arm wrestle, I think Dogs are well in this match.
Someone that impressed Harry Grant did impress me against the Cowboys. Just the way
finally he says it.
I will finally give you credit, Sal. He played very, very well against the Cowboys.
Is he worth the hype, this guy? Like, have you seen enough from him to deserve the hype that this guy got?
For his first few games, yes.
Well, we're not hyping him as the best player in rugby league. We're just hyping him in the fact that he's playing well and he's got a bright future.
Every news outlet that you listen to, whether it's a podcast or a sports segment on the radio, this guy's name is mentioned almost daily. Whether it's regards to Cam Smith and blah, blah, blah.
I think it's just refreshing, Jamie.
Cam Smith, that's a very high bar. I don't think he's there yet. I see him like a Michael Ennis at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. I think it's just refreshing, Jamie. Outside Jake Friends, Cameron Smiths, your carousels, you're not really getting money hookers that are sparking. And it's
Well, people keep forgetting you've got the Kiwi International number 9 sitting there. Like, what's he supposed to do next year if Cam retires? Like, does he just play lock forward? The hectic cheese he's guaranteed that spot next in line. So
does he? But he can play somewhere else.
I actually think he's more of a second row. I don't see a dummy half from Brandon Smith. To be honest.
And the funny thing is, the Melbourne Storm, I think from memory, have another hooker playing in Queensland Cups in like the under 18 systems that's got very good hype as well.
Yeah,
and I know you don't. He's still not to prove himself, but Billy Walters is.
Is he in this week?
I don't think so, but he'll be there next year.
They haven't been playing a hooker off the bench. They've been playing Michael Cheekham as basically the back row player, but can play a bit of utility, which into the centres and push some. So if Grant was to go down, they'll probably move Mumbai into hooker and then move one of the other players into fullback. But yeah, so that's my upset of the round. Well,
is the Pommy bloke in this week? Is he? I don't see him named.
Thompson needs
he's got 3 days left in isolation. I think, or 4 days.
Oh wow.
And I wouldn't even rush him out next week. I'd want him to get his, have a couple like 5 or 6 training sessions. Learn the plays, even though it doesn't look like we have many plays, to be honest. It's just
Do you reckon he'll start?
No, I think he'll come off the bench. He actually looks like a good mold for that lean lock role, but Adam Elliott has been, I'll give him his praise. He's been playing really well lately. So I don't think you're going to push Elliott out. So I think you'd still start Tolman and Napra as the front rowers. But you'd probably have Thompson off the bench. I think Renoff to Maga. Sorry.
Yeah, Tuamaga, yeah.
I think he's been brilliant. I'm so glad that Ofahiki Ogden got a chance to play this week as well.
I was really impressed with him and Mariner coming off as a 1-2 punch. They're just a different body type to what the rest of the pack is. But from all accounts, that Pommy guy, they reckon he's an absolute fitness freak. Like, he's up there. So I don't think he's got an issue with up to speed. Like, he's obviously looked like he don't have much of a game plan running around. So you just got to... If Adam Elliott's running around as your best player, then...
And doing grubber kicks in the in goal.
Oh, please, stop it.
Yeah, I know. It's tough. Anyway.
The pride of the passion, Sal. Get on board.
Well, that's all the games for the weeks. That's it for tonight. It's a quicker
nice.
it's a quicker podcast. We look forward to the matches. Sal, Jamie, thank you.
Cheers, fellas.
Freeman, always good with you. Always good to be with you and Jamie.
The lollipops are in the mail, boys. Don't worry, I got you.
Oh.
I look forward to the next lollipop segment.
Yeah. All right, cheers, lads.
All right, thank you. We'll see you next week.